Greetings, Mick McQuaid here to talk to you about the select statement. Now, I've previously said that normalization and ER diagrams are the most important things you can learn in this course, but the most common thing that you'll use out of this course is indeed the select statement. So let's talk about it. So as I said, it's the most frequently used SQL statement for any general user of SQL. And it's the main way that you get data out of a database. And enormously complicated select statements are possible. And select statements are declarative, meaning that they tell the relational database management system what you want, not how to get it. How is left up to the system itself or to a database administrator. And then there's a new default since like March or April of this year that is useful for most purposes. The old default, if you have an older copy of SQL from before, of SQLite 3 from before March or April of this year, it has an ugly kind of output by default. And it has a dot command. SQLite has a dot command called .mode that controls the format of the display. And so if you say help.mode, you'll get a list of the most common modes. So here are the first few. Mode list is the former default. So columns are separated by a vertical bar. There's no header. It's compact but ugly. You would have to say headers on, dot headers on to get the headers. Column has fixed width column, which is a more readable mode. It's not the most readable mode, but it's more readable than the list format. And if you put dot headers on, that will label the columns. The box mode is similar to the new default mode, which draws Unicode box drawing characters around the table like a proper grid. And so this looks good on screenshots and demos, and it's available on most recent versions of SQLite 3. The table mode is like the box mode, but if you have a very primitive terminal that doesn't accept Unicode characters, then this mode works better than box mode. And if you want to put your output into a markdown document, you want to copy and paste it into a markdown document, this is the best mode. And if you want to generate a comma-separated values file for use in a spreadsheet or some other tool, this is the best mode. The tabs mode can be even better than the CSV mode because data often has commas in the data, and it more rarely has tabs in the data. So there are Unix tools like cut or awk that accept tab-separated values. And there are a lot of web-based tools that accept JSON input, including JQ, which is a JSON formatter. The HTML mode is good if you're generating an HTML document, a web page. And this is not rendering properly. This table name gets replaced by whatever you want the table to be. So you can generate every row as an insert statement, which is good if you want to dump a small set of rows into another database. And the quote mode does the SQL style quotes. So if you want to embed the output in a query, this is the best mode to use. And finally, the line mode, which is really handy if you have really long values in a column. So I sometimes have databases that have a paragraph in a column, so the output looks ridiculous on screen unless you do it in line mode. Okay, and here is the documentation page for the select statement. So if you go to the SQLite website and go to this page, this is what it looks like. And I'm showing you this not because I want to make your life miserable. I just want you to get a sense of how elaborate this can really be. And I'm scrolling through it too fast for you to really follow the details. I'm going to show you this diagram and this diagram separately because we are going to go through these two things. But most of this other stuff is beyond this class. It's really advanced stuff. So, but I want you to get a sense of what's possible with the select statement, because in the workplace you may want to do elaborate things with the select statement. So you may want to learn these things later. And you will use the order by and the limit clause in this class, but these other clauses that are passing by the screen you're not going to use. Okay, so complicated, isn't it? The page that you've just seen is included in the official select syntax diagram. Oh wait, it included the official diagram, which is known as a railroad diagram. So I'm going to show you that. And it states explicitly that select is the most complicated SQL command. And we're just going to use a very small part of it. And we're not even going to use the entire core of it. We're going to mainly use from, where, join, group by, order by, and limit. And we're also going to use some aggregate functions, including count, max, min, average, median, and sum, which are documented at the SQLite documentation page, lang_agfunc. Okay, so here's the core of the select statement. So the core of it starts with potentially something else. You can put a with clause before this, but we're just going to start with select, and we're going to do the subclauses from, where, group by, and we're not going to use window, and we're not going to use values. So select is followed by a result column that we want. So we've said, for example, select star instead of a particular column. We said all columns. From, and we've said pets as a table name. We haven't started joining yet, but we're going to soon. Where, and we could say, for example, where in the select star from pets, where kid-friendly equals yes, for instance. Or we could, for example, group it by whether it's kid-friendly or not. Group by kid. This expression could be just a column name, or it could be a more elaborate expression. And then the output of this can be our final output, or it can go on to other things. Now I'm going to show you where it fits in on the next frame. So this is the simple select statement that has the select core embedded in it. And as I said, we're not going to do with. And the only output things that we might do are order by and limit. So we might say, order by some term, alphabetical or reverse alphabetical or whatever. And we might limit it to just the top few so that it doesn't scroll off the screen. Or we might even limit it to 1. We can literally put the number 1 here to get the top result if you want to find out the maximum of something, for instance. So you're going to find some examples in the SQLite examples.zip file. So if you download this and unzip it and say SQLite 3 petsdb, you can put in these select statements. And you can also copy and paste these from the slideshow version of this video. So we can select star from pets. We can select star from pets where kid-friendly equals yes, and this can be single or double quotes. We can select just kid-friendly and count star as total from pets group by kid-friendly, and then the output that we'll get will just be yes or no, and how many yeses there are and how many no's there are. We can order them by name. And by default, it will be in ascending order. We can order them by descending order, and we can abbreviate descending as DESC, and we can limit it to just a few if we want, for example, or limit by some expression. Some more examples of select statements are with the Chinook DB. So we can say SQLite 3 space chinook.db and enter all these select statements, which include some aggregate functions. Oh, and this is a scrollable, side-scrollable window because this is very long. I have a bad habit of just doing run-on SQL commands. Usually people put the keywords, which are in bold here, on a separate line. So you would just have up to here on the first line, and then the second line would be just invoices I, and then the third line would be join customer C, and then the fourth line would be on customer ID equals customer ID. And these letters here are abbreviations. So when I say from, I can give an abbreviation. I can actually include the keyword as here, but SQL understands that the next thing, the next string of characters is an abbreviation for this, even if you don't say as. So I've said as invoices I, customers C, and in the rest of the select statement, I can use those abbreviations to refer to the total that's in the invoices table and the first name that's in the customer table, etc. And in addition to the max function, there's also the count function. I can count, this counts the total number of customers. This finds the smallest order in the invoice file. This gives the average size of an invoice. And this is formatted. So printf is a format function that's used not only in SQL, but in the C programming language and many other programming languages. It's a pretty ubiquitous function that allows us to format in this case, we're formatting the average of the total to have three locations for the numbers, and two of those locations being after the decimal point in floating point number representation. And there are a lot of tutorials online about the printf statement, not only for SQL, but for the C programming language and other languages. Okay, so, and here's how we usually write these, select statements to make them more readable if you want to view them on screen. Okay, so that's all I want to say about the select statement for now. But there are plenty of examples in the SQLite examples file that you should go over. They can be models for your project. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to our next meeting.